Hi, hello, this is Jules the Human here, and welcome to the Jules and Matt Anime Hour. I'm one of your hosts, Jules the Human, and we are talking about anime every week here on this show. And this week we are deep in it. We are in it for Psychopaths. We're talking about episode 5 through 8 today of Psychopaths. And I'm not going on this Psychopath journey alone. As always, my co host, Matt Galley. I kind of like this now. If you could sum up these 4 episodes in one word, what would it be? For me, it's a lot. I'll say a lot.
The summing it up, it's hard to do that on the spot because it is
Sure.
a lot. It gets kind of morbid and kind of creepy. I would
More
use either of those two
creepy,
words. Yeah.
morbid, and creepy. And it's definitely turning out to be something very different than all the other anime that we've done before. And if you are returning or very new, let me tell you what we do here. So every week we talk a little bit about anime, a couple of episodes about anime, a different anime all the time. And we've done so far, we've done Black Clover, we've done Gotchaman Crowds that were suggested by CZ here. But we have a huge chest of anime that you can add to by submitting 500 bits here in the live Twitch chat. If you're watching it later on, we do this on Thursday, and you can watch us live on Thursdays. And those are the anime that me and Matt have submitted, but also users submitted as well. So if you want to get your favorite anime or an anime you want us to watch, donate 500 bits during the live show, and you can get your anime in, because next week is the last time that we're going to be diving into Psychopaths, right? Next week is the last one.
Next week we do episodes 9 to 12.
Episodes 9 through 12, and we're already off onto another adventure. We're going to rate this one next week, and I know there's a whole lot more episodes of Psychopaths, but we're going to rate this one for the first arc, really, kind of how we did with Black Clover. We did the first 2 arcs, but this is the first arc.
It's kind of like a first impressions.
Sure, first
Yeah.
impressions, and then we rate it on the tier list. That's what me and Matt have rated, pretty much the same, and hopefully, I don't know if we can keep that up. I don't know. I don't know. Those are our independent thoughts. Those were what we thought of
I
the
think
show.
if I were to make a guess, I feel like this might be the first one where we start to deviate more heavily because it's something so different than what we've seen before.
And before the show, I was like, Matt, I don't even want to talk about it. I want to leave it here because I don't know if he likes it. I don't know if Matt likes it or not. I don't know if y'all like it or not. We're watching it together and we're figuring it out. And some people watched it this morning, you late bugs. But we have a lot to get into. There's so much to go into. Thank you so much to everybody joining here on the live show. Leave a comment, say hi, type something so we know you're there. But episode 5, Nobody Knows Your Face, is Kaylee. I haven't watched it at all.
Yeah.
Imagine one day, one S tier and one F tier. I feel like it'll be something like that. Yes. I would like something with a tournament. I don't know. But episode 5, Nobody Knows Your Face. Matt, you provided some pictures here. I'll accompany you with what happened. Give us a short breakdown of what happened in episode 5. It was a lot.
Episode 5, we kind of see the close to the whole internet impersonator arc here, where Gnoza and the company think they're about to get the perpetrator, the imposter. They kind of fall into a trap, and that just kind of leads them astray. Meanwhile, Konogami is analyzing the Akane's meeting with Spooky Boogie, and kind of is able to pick up on a lot of key things that the use of their words is off and all these different things. Like he's able to identify that it's not the same person using that avatar, and through I guess you could say a triangulation of sorts, using these three internet personas that have gone missing and stuff, he's able to they stopped going into this person's chat room on this day, this person's chat room on that day, he breaks it down. Um, they kind of close in on the IP address of this new potential person that could be the imposter, and it's a really weird sequence where they have him and they use the Dominator to shoot him and, like, his arm blows off, but, like, his whole body doesn't explode, and then they're like, "Oh, he's on pain, stimulants or whatever." And the chase leads us to his quarters where he kind of gets comforted by all of these personas that he stole, but then they all switch on him, like, in a second and start harassing him because Mr. Makashima, I think his name is, yeah, Makashima,
Yeah, yeah.
like, pressed the kill switch and, like, turned them against him, and they start taunting him, like, "You could have done better, you could have done better," and he starts, like,
Oh,
screaming out in agony by the time the, officers finally catch up to him, and then they eliminate him, but they all note the fact that, like, who was this guy talking to? Like, he was just in here, like, losing his mind because they show up and they don't see anything. He's just kind of, like, screaming like a madman.
uh,
That's where the episode leaves up right right
s-
before Inspector Ginoza actually talks to Akane and shares that, uh, Konogami used to be an inspector, and that is kind of the biggest plot reveal from this episode, that Konogami
yeah.
happened during a case he was on, and his, crime coefficient numbers spiraled out of control, leading him to be demoted from inspector to enforcer.
Kogami is an inspector. His crime coefficient went crazy. There's so much going on in this episode. We've Kogami figures out how the avatars of Spooky Boogie, yes, the name is Spooky Boogie, that was that character that we met last time, is dead and was taken over because of their word choices. That was so cool. All of this episode gave me so much tension and nothing was really going on. Not like nothing was going on. It was all set and story. Like set and story where the tension was building and they were in a room talking. It was like, what? They're just talking. And it was the way the camera cut. Well, it's not a camera cut, but it felt like it felt like a camera cut to this person, to this person. It was like it was literally unraveling the mystery and it was so much tension. And it felt like as opposed to like what we've seen before, Black Clover, where it was like, oh my God, 15 minutes went by so fast. I felt like this stretched so much time. They fit so much information in how short this episode is. It's crazy, especially when they're trying to piece together everything.
It is a lot of dialogue where they're breaking down their kind of like, their train of thought, the inspectors and the enforcers, they're breaking down their train of thought in order to help the audience also along, to get to that conclusive point and be able to feel assured that, like, it makes sense within the rules of the universe, because like we were talking about within the first 4 episodes, it kind of sets up a lot of rules and stuff. And so as these next episodes play out, the show uses those rules without really reminding us on the nose that they're there, but it keeps kind of playing into everything that it started with.
Homie got his arms chopped shot off, like you mentioned. There's pieces of body in the sewer of the late great Spooky Boogie actual person. They were like, there was like a throwaway line. They're like, oh, we found some pieces of her body in the sewer, so it's coming from this area. Huh? What? We're just chopping off limbs, shooting people and stuff. It's crazy. It's wild. Spooky Boogie, I love the way they say it. Yes, that is the name. I love the way that they say it as well.
Spooky boogie.
um one of the what's his name? The older guy. I gotta know his name. I
uh
don't know his name. Chat, if anybody knows, what's the older guy's name that's like, I've been here a
is
long
it
time, kid.
Masako?
Something like that. I don't know their name. They're all very similar a little bit, but the old guy, he does like a flame breath to dilute the hotel
The
area,
holograms,
the
yeah, that's right.
holograms, because they were like alcohols. Like, well, we figure out later, like they have a whole little thing in the next episode about alcohol in this world. Masoka. Thank you, CZ. Appreciate it. Masaoka.
Masaoka.
Yeah. Um, he does
That was
like a
close.
flame breath by taking the alcohol and then blowing into the sprinkler system. They still have sprinkler system. That's still a thing, I guess, which is kind of crazy. But the okay, so the big part about this, and I kind of want to ask you, like, the guy that was killing or helping Makishima kill and took over the avatars. He was like a super fan of all of these. That's how Kogami.
Masataki Mito.
Yeah, that guy, Mito,
Mito.
Masataki Mito. He was the one that was in control of everybody because his account was the one they figured it out and all that stuff. He wanted these avatars to be bigger than what they actually were and to
Mhm.
be their own thing. And he quoted, there's a lot of different quotes, and I got the breakdown of it in like an episode or two, but this one he was like the souls. He was talking to his avatars that he took over. The souls are closest to Plato's idea, and I looked up Plato, the philosopher's idea, and what that is the theory of forms or theory of ideas is a philosophical theory, fuzzy concept, or worldview attributed to Plato that the physical world is not as real or true as timeless as absolute unchangeable ideas. So the way he was thinking about it, he was like, this is the closest thing to Plato's idea that these are timeless beings that
Yep.
can live out forever. And essentially they lived out past him because
Yeah.
he died.
And that was the thing, is that when he was taking over their personas and stuff, there was that conversation that that Makashima, I think, was having with him, where he was like, "You can become a better spooky boogie than this person ever was. You became a better talisman than that guy ever was." And like Akane mentions, and they're looking through all of these graphics and stuff, like it's right after they went missing, their popularity shoots up into this and
Mhm.
skyrockets. And it's somebody, I can't remember who specifically said it, but somebody mentions the fact that, and this is where like being into like online content creation and stuff, the show dives into these topics, where it's like, somebody who's obsessed with somebody watching them online would be able to play that person better than the person who probably created the role themselves.
Right? Because yeah, the thing that they were diving into was because the person that you portray is sometimes different than the person you are, but the person that you portray are the things that you want to be perceived as, but the person that you are, you may have divulging attitudes or thoughts or something like that. So that's what they were showcasing was like, yo, he's more popular than ever because now this person thinks he know, like, let's say Jules the Human. You probably know, y'all watched me long enough, you know how to probably be a Jules the Human if you wanted to take over my avatar. And then you could probably be better than me because you'll be an exemplified version of me. You wouldn't be like how maybe sometimes I'm subdued. You would be like this over the top energy. So that's kind of how he was, and he got super popular. So that's kind of what he was talking about with Plato's idea was that this is absolute unchangeable ideas, and it's more real than this physical person, which
And
is
I
insane.
and I like how that the way somebody like that, like it plays right into Kogami being able to, again, try kind of triangulate who this person was, because it was the day that Mito stopped appearing in their chat rooms on a consistent basis. He was there all the time, not at all. And it's because why? Well, he can't be the person in the chat room leading it and be in the chat room at the same time. That just he
So
can't be at two
good.
places at the same time. And
That's so
it's
awesome.
a really great way of the show, like, having him solve that on his own, while Ginoza is kind of off on a wild goose chase, being led into a trap. Meanwhile, he figured out who it was.
And he was mad. He was like, "Why aren't y'all injured at all?" He
he literally
was like,
didn't even say like, how did you guys not get hurt? He said, why are you guys not hurt?
"Yeah." He's like, "Why am I the only one? What the heck?" So good. I gotta ask, okay, your opinion. Did you like this episode? Because I enjoyed it
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much.
Yes, I probably could be saying a lot more about how up to this point, yes, definitely enjoying the heck out of the show for
Yeah,
sure.
this one felt so much like a Sherlock, novel or the show where it's just super. It was a lot of tension in this episode. in this
And
episode,
I okay, and this is where I want to test that, not really ask this question, maybe more make a prediction.
sure.
So we see uh we see the Dominator pointed at Mito, and his crime coefficient is off the charts, right? We every single time they've gotten the perpetrator, so to speak, their crime coefficient has been off the charts. I don't know if it's going to happen while we're here with the show, but I really feel like something's building up to something with them not having a crime coefficient like number high enough to even like disable somebody, stun somebody, and that person's and it's going to be in a really like key moment. And just prediction moving forward, because
Bro.
we keep seeing like, oh, set to lethal, set to lethal, set to lethal, and I'm like, these guys are doing the crazy stuff. In episode 4 we saw Mito, maybe like he was in front of a blender blending a bunch of tomatoes right after capturing somebody's symbolism. um it's, it's what the show is not showing
Sure.
us.
Okay, that just opened my eyes to something, and it instantly gave me a vision of Makishima and Kogami finally settling it down, and Kogami pointing the gun at Makishima, and his psychopath is not Hughed at all because he hasn't done anything. He hasn't done anything.
The sociopath mentality that everything that he's doing is completely fine because he's not the one doing it. He's just leading other people, stray dogs, into the war den.
Hello, Raven. How's it going?
Sorry.
Welcome.
Sorry if that's too early to
We're
talk
talking
about a
about psychopaths.
prediction like
No,
that, but I
I
had to
I
get that one on there.
that just blew my mind. Now I'm thinking about it. My brain clicked as soon as I said it. He hasn't done anything. Makishima hasn't done anything. He's made everybody else do something. And now whenever Kogami is going to point the gun at him, it's not going to be Hued. And now Kogami is going to have to fist fight him. Bro, at that moment, I would die. It's insane. Okay, we got to keep going.
Gotta keep
Hello,
going.
Raven. Hello, everybody joining in for live chat.
Hello.
Let us know your thoughts about that theory. Don't tell us if we're right or wrong if you know, but
Yeah,
we're
I
talking
have
about
not
psychopaths.
seen this show before. I've
Bro, that
not
just
seen this
opened my
show
eyes.
or
That's
heard
so good.
anything about this show. That is, yeah.
We are talking about psychopaths, episode 5 through 8. We talk about a bunch of anime and stuff all the time. So, yeah. Episode 5, or episode 6 of Psychopaths Return of the Psychotic Prince. Tell us a little bit about that one.
So in this episode, we kind of get to see like there's kind of like two different again, internet imposter storyline concluded. So new arc potentially opening up right here, these micro arcs. Um Akane now knowing that uh Kogami used to be an inspector, starts to seek more information about that fact. She learns about this thing called the resin case, which is a case that Kogami used to work on right up until one of his enforcers went from being like an enforcer to being a victim in the case after chasing down a culprit. Realizing the similarities between these two cases, uh, Kogami starts to look into things a lot more deeply. And we see him relapse in the memories of the previous case. We dive throughout the episode. We kind of have these little mini dives into a what seems like a girls' boarding school, girls only boarding school, where a very upsetting turn of events start to play out. The first thing we see is this girl on her iPad in the middle of a lecture, kind of not paying attention, but she's actually DMing this person who starts to go on this tangent about how Shakespeare's comedies are boring and their tragedies are so much better, and how you looked into the thing with Plato. I was looking into the things this person was saying about the
Gotcha.
tragedies, but we can get to that in a second. So the there's this kind of like head girl, this lead mean girl at the school, whatever. She's really pretty, but she's also really nice. She's really smart. Everybody likes her, yada, yada, yada. And she's president of the art club. And she goes around asking people that aren't in clubs if they'd like to come and join the club. And the, yeah, the show leaves us with, the show leaves us with her like kind of getting really close to somebody who we won't be seeing for very much longer.
Yeah, there's
um
a lot of names that they get thrown in
a
in
lot of
this.
names, a lot of like kind of characters who are going to just become victims, like
Sure.
plain and simple. From this girl, Arroyo, the president of the art club. A lot got thrown at us this episode. Especially
Yeah,
with the whole resin case thing. Uh how did you feel about this episode?
it was I like the way they did it to where well, I liked it and I didn't like it. I liked it because it started giving us a whole new little story to go along, like all the girls in the boarding school, whatever. That was cool, like to see little vignettes of them, and I'm like, okay, where's this going? Like, what is this? This is kind of wild to just come out of nowhere. And I didn't like it because it was just like we're on to the next one, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? What's happening? I was kind of like shocked a little bit because we just came off of something kind of insane and we just figured out all the information. We just figured out that he was a former inspector and all that stuff. And then the whole like exploding and ending of that little last arc where with all the avatars and
Mhm.
then instantly going into another thing, which is still related. But I was like, wait, what are we doing? Wait, what? What's going on?
That's
So
why
it,
I
it
call them
went
these like micro arcs
it went
almost.
super fast. And like I like it, but I also kind of didn't like it how fast it went. But it was cool. I
Case
liked it.
closed, case open.
Yeah, but it's still sort of the same overarching thing. Again, it's
Mhm.
sort of like the Sherlock show with fucking Benedict Cumbersnatch because it's like each episode is like an hour of little things, but they're overarching. There was a whole other thing. So I'm loving this show really. Um in this episode there was people uh you know what I said. I said what I said. People are afraid to get addicted to alcohol, so they go virtual. That's what I had written. That was really interesting. I don't know why. That was really interesting because they are afraid to get addicted to alcohol because of their possible psychopaths getting
Mhm.
clouded. So they just go and
Alcohol by literal definition, all alcohol are depressants. Any
yeah.
type of alcohol is a depressant, and we've learned that if people get depressed and sad, not even just angry and malicious, but depressed and sad, that can also make your psychopaths cloudy, apparently. We hear
That's
it all the time. You don't want your psychopaths to get cloudy. Don't let that psychopath get cloudy. Like,
There was yeah, there was a I think it might be in the next episode or the last episode where one of the girls is comforting another girl that passed away because she was crying and stuff. She's like, let it out now while you can so that your psychopath doesn't get cloudy. And I was
mhm,
like, what the fuck? Like, it's not even like let it out because it's emotions.
mhm.
Let it out because you don't want to die by the system. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Is this really the utopia we want?
It's subtle, but I'm glad you caught that too,
It's
because that's like,
insane.
that's in a couple episodes, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
because, like, if a friend's, like, crying, I'm like, "Oh, I'm here for you, like, it's okay, it's gonna be great," and it's like, with them, it's like, I don't want you to die, don't get your psychopath cloudy, smiley, we're good, right? Just let out those tears."
so like I was talking about at the front, I don't remember where it was, but, I heard once, anytime there's a lecture moment in a piece of media, pay attention because it's, like, trying to say something about the bigger
Sure.
picture that the story's telling, whatever the lesson's on or whatever. So, again, they were talking about Shakespeare. This girl, Arroyo, she was like, "I hate Shakespeare's comedies, but his tragedies, I enjoy them, they're sinister and stuff." She mentions Macbeth, and she mentions, Titus and, Andronicus,
I'd
and,
never heard of those.
I've heard of Macbeth, never read it, never read both those either of those before. Not gonna pretend like I haven't, but I did look up Macbeth, and in a summary, Three witches tell the Scottish general Macbeth that he will be king of Scotland. Encouraged by his wife, he kills the king, becomes the king out of paranoia, kills more people. Civil war erupts and to overthrow him, resulting in more death and the repeat of the cycle. Um, and then Titus Andronicus, at a summary, Roman general, returns from war with 4 prisoners, and they all vow to take revenge against him. They do things to his daughter that leave her killed. They do things to his sons that leave them killed or banished. The Titus, the general, decides to then cook 2 of the prisoners in return for their for doing that, and cooks 2 of them into a pie, which he then serves to their mother before killing her too. And so those are the 2 things that she brings up in relation to Shakespeare. Like, I don't
Damn.
enjoy the comedies, but these 2 stories, these are really good.
Sure,
They're
and I
great and
agree.
they're morbid.
I agree with you that whenever in anime, if they're going out of their way to mention something, it's like kind of important. And they got baked literally. Okay, Chad, that's funny. But okay, I didn't know Shakespeare wrote all that. I didn't know he
Yeah.
wrote all that. I just knew that he was like he was famous because of his stage stuff was either a comedy or a tragedy. Tragedy
Mhm.
always included somebody probably dying at the end, their main character going through this whole thing, this whole loss, and then most likely eventually taking his own life or being dead by his surroundings that he made himself and things like that. I
Yep.
knew the overarching thing, but I didn't know those stories in particular. And that's interesting. That's crazy. And very in vogue here because of what Rikako has done. Uh Jelly, thank you for the
Nice.
bits. I gotta
Nice.
the 69, 69, 69, 69. We got to add that up. I'm not too sure if that's 500 or how much it is, but thank you so much for all the 69 hearts here. Thank you, Jelly. You let us know how much
Future
that
Diary?
is. It's 500. Okay. Future Diary. Oh, okay, okay. Let's add that to the chest of psychopaths
The
here.
Chest of Psychopaths. So yeah, those were so during that lecture scene, that's basically we get to see Arroyo's like she's kind of on some like very again, the
On
word I
some
used at
wild
the
shit,
beginning, morbid. Like this girl's state of mind
for
at the
sure.
school. The captain of the art club.
Yes. Again, Jelly, thank you for the 500 bits, and we'll add that to our anime chest. We have a bunch of anime that we pick out of. Next week is the last week that we're going to be talking about Psychopaths, and then at the end of next week's episode, we're going to pick out a new anime. So now that you've donated 500 bits, and it'll go to both of us, Future Past will be added to this list, and
Future pass.
or Future Diary. Sorry, Future Diary. I said Future Pass. So man, now that you said, my brain is still on what we came to a conclusion of, where because we saw sort of in this one, we saw Makishima giving killers the means to an end, and he kind of talked about it. He's giving these killers the ability to do the thing, and he's letting them out, and he's letting them do what they're quote unquote meant to do, or they think they're meant to do. But again, I didn't think about it until now. He's not doing the thing. He's not doing
His
anything.
hands are clean, if not just by association.
And this is connected to the guy who Kogami is looking for, so it's all connected. It's probably the same guy.
And we
It
didn't
most likely.
mention when Makishima hit the kill switch on Mito with those persona people. He was talking about the fact that like he had been disappointed by Mito.
He
This
had been
whole do
disappointed.
not disappoint Mr. Makishima. It becomes a thing, a recurring thing. I think it already
So
happened
weird.
once before in the show, so now we're seeing it again for the second time. Don't
And
disappoint Mr. Makishima.
we're gonna see it again by the end of this episode. Let's talk about episode 7,
Yes.
symbolism of Blatilla Striata.
Um, episode 7. realizing that the cases that are currently happening are connected to those resin cases of the past, Ginoza takes Kogami off and asks Akane to look after Kogami because she
You're off the
seems clued
case.
into the situation. He's like, if you know what's going on with Kogami, then I shouldn't have to explain to you that. Just please keep an eye on him. Akane talks to Kogami about things to try to get a better grasp of the situation with the resin case and stuff. And she's shown a very blurry image of Makishima with the name accompanying. While while simultaneously Makishima is kind of having this dialogue about Arroyo's death, the girl who is the captain of the art club. Her father just passed away after being on something called Serenity, which is apparently this new cool like way of passing away for people that's essentially living, it's essentially like it seems to be some sort of a modern lobotomy. That's what it seemed like to me. Uh so he passes away and Makishima is kind of talking about it, and uh, and we see that more of the girls at this school begin to end up in trouble by the hand of Miss Miss Arroyo. I don't know if I'm saying her last name right. Or
Oreo,
you, or
Oreo,
Arroyo, or you, something
Oreo.
like that. Miss Or.
I just realized it. Well, when I was watching it, I realized it was R and U, like our and you. So are you?
How are you? Got you.
Yeah.
But yeah, the show, this episode, I feel like is. How did you feel about this episode?
I'll tell you right now, but we got another 500 corgis from CZ
Nice.
saying it's punishment time, Danganronpa season 1.
Not
Although I'm happy to put it back in the
Danganronpa.
box of anime despair, it if it gets picked next. So if CZ gets this next pick in there, we gotta nerf him. Somebody nerf
Nerf CZ,
CZ.
please.
Danganronpa season 1, to be
Another reason to
honest,
nerf Genji.
I'm totally down to watch Danganronpa. I'm pretty sure it's on my alley. I just haven't done it. So, again, thank you Jelly for the 500 bits, and thank you CZ for the 500 bits. And those two anime will be added to the anime chest of despair. So, Danganronpa possibly coming soon. But this episode was I wrote down a lot here. The first thing, because we started off the episode with it, the information of serenity. So Rikako Oryu's father, who is a famous artist, was using serenity as a form of death that people ask for. They say they ask for it. Um, because we learn about it later, right? I think we learn about it in the next episode that uh in this episode actually there's a lot of like dialogue. I love how much dialogue it is, and I have to pay attention. I like it. It's keeping my interest. Like I'm not like put off by it. Like there's so much happening in each episode that I'm like, is this really just like 20 something minutes? I'm like,
Dialogue dense.
how long is this? Because I'm like, oh my god, this feels like so stretched out while still giving me a lot of tension. But in this show, apparently stress is seen as a stimulant, as it stimulates the immune system, or as they were talking about it, reason for living. And there's so many concepts in this show that we've already figured out, and we there's so much more probably coming. But they're like, stress stimulates you and your immune system. And apparently in this show, the quality of life, quote unquote, is the highest, but the length of
Life
living,
expectancy is going
li-
down.
life expectancy is the lowest. I think they said that it's been in a while.
But the
Because
public will never know that.
but the public don't know that, because stress stimulates the immune system and the reason for living. Like, and I wanted to get your take on it. How do you feel about what they said? I
Yeah.
was like, huh. It made me think. We tried to get rid of the stress in our life, but somewhere along the line, is stress actually the reason for us living, to find a purpose, to do the thing, to keep getting better and do all that stuff? And this is from an anime show, and I'm like, what am I thinking about? So what are your thoughts about all that?
No, yeah, I mean, it plays into the concept where, if, without, okay, so emotions, without the duality of all of our emotions, either side would feel meaningless. What is happiness without sadness? You know, just uh to quickly put that aside, um it's like we've seen this concept before, but this show really starts to dive into it with more of a, again, through the lens of this future, like, again, utopia. Is this the utopia that we want, where it really can start to feel like a dystopia? um I It's really interesting the
Yeah.
way the show it's really interesting the way the show puts that in front of you, because the way they're talking about it, it's like, they're talking about it through the lens of stress, which stress is something that nobody wants to be associated with. But when you start to, yeah, realize, oh yeah, if I'm never stressed, then what does it mean to be stress free? Even like, oh, it is
They
a
yeah,
conversation for sure.
they even mentioned that that's one of the reasons, like, Rick Hako's dad decided to do Serenity or whatever it is, because now that we're stress free, whenever there's, like, a little bit of it, it's like, "I can't handle it." You know what I mean? I think that's what they said. I'm not too sure if that's what, Mikashima said or not. It was something to along the lines of that, but yeah, it's wild. Like, would you rather have a shorter life if it was without stress, or would you live longer with stress? Like,
That's
or
the
in
thing, but,
that
like, even if you're living without stress, does that mean that are you still living with purpose if you're not having to deal with scenarios that induce stress? Because, like, a big part of living is, like, experiencing new things and stuff like that, and, like, doing stuff like that can be super stressful. Um
but, like, in
People
this
traveling right now, it's super stressful, you know what I mean? But
but
it's
in
like
this
it's the
world
catharsis of having to feel that, and then being on the other end of it where it's like that weight is finally off your shoulder. I'm I know that, like, that you've been on, like, a workout arc and stuff, and, like, it's super stressful to get into that mindset of, like, putting yourself through, literally choosing to put yourself through punishment, but it's for the benefit of the long term. And that's kind of like the same concept on a different level, where, um, that stress of having to deal with it mentally, if you're not having to endure that as you go on with your life, like you said, where your breaking points are just going to be so much lower. You're not going to be able to withstand like anything that life actually can throw at you.
so if I well, okay, I was gonna do, like,
But
an
you have to
example,
survive
like,
anything that can throw at you if the society that you're living
yeah,
in is built around it
if
being
you're built
stress
ar
free anyways. See
if
that.
you're built around pillows, like, what's the need for, you know, having a knife or whatever? I don't know. So there's like this whole huge conversation. If anybody wants to chime in on like what your thoughts about that, because it was kind of a big concept that they just kind of dropped. They
Mhm.
just every episode is like a new concept or something you got to look up. I love that. It's totally dope. Um, Another thing that I want to talk about this episode, not so much the episode. We got the introduction of a new weird chemical that's left over that's used on these bodies. That's cool and all. Chogu song. We got a new character introduced pretty much. But I want to talk about Akane in this world, and this is when I started to have a problem with it. Akane is used as a story device the whole time and is there
Yes.
to get characters to talk,
Mhm.
and not so much a character herself. And
Mm.
I've seen some comments about it where they're like, "This sucks as a woman main character." She's not even main character. She's a woman device to get other people to talk, to get Kogami to tell her all the stuff. And would the show have been better if Kogami was just the inspector in this world, rather than him having to go through Akane to do all the stuff, to be like, "Oh, you have to babysit me because I can't do it myself." Would that have been better? Because I'm like, "Who's Akane? Who's this girl? Like, what is she doing? She's not adding anything to it, and it's not her fault."
No, yeah.
It's
That's where I feel like the show kind of has gone. in these episodes that we're talking about, but I do feel like that in the first couple episodes that the show was kind of setting her up really well as being this new rookie in the force that has
Yes.
a different idea of crime and justice in this world
For
and how the
sure.
systems work, and that she was going to start to kind of employ like everybody to be thinking more in regards to like empathy and the fact that criminals are still people,
And
all
that
of
might
those
still come
types of
in
concepts. it
that
might
might
it
still
might
come in later.
but in these 4 episodes, she definitely takes a back seat to Kogami, who is literally just like beat for beat getting everything as time progresses. But by the end of the 8th episode, I will say it's a question as to if that's going to continue to happen.
Sure, it was just at this point, that's what I have it written down at
Hmm.
as one of my thoughts while I'm watching it, episode 7, she was listening to Kogami, she was, like, trying to get him to explain all this stuff, and then, it was like, what is she there for? Like, Kogami could have been just the main character. Like, I was like, what is she doing? Like, that's when this is the point where I was like, oh my god, this sucks for her as a character, and I finally understand because a lot of people are complaining about it. But hello everybody live in the live chat. Queen, hi, hello. I just got here. What anime we were talking about? So we're talking about Psychopaths, episode 5 through 8. Every week we talk a little bit about anime here, and we are in our Psychopaths season. Right now. And one more episode, we're going to be talking about Psychopaths next week, and then we're going to move on to another anime. So it's kind of like a book club, but with anime. So you watch along, and then we come and discuss it. So, um, some other stuff that I have here. So I looked up the title of this symbolism of Blatilla striata.
Oh, that would
Uh,
have been a good one. Yeah.
yeah, so the name of the episode, and I wanted to get your thoughts because it is up for interpretation, really, about what this actually means, and it could be literal or like whatever. So Blatilla striata is a Chinese ground orchid that has spear-shaped leaves and and magenta flowers. It can be used to treat ulcers and is a natural glue for making slim strings for traditional Chinese instruments like the guqin. So it is a flower that's natural, um,
That
that
has
has
needles.
sharp leaves, and it's used to treat ulcers. It's a natural glue for instruments like you could take it literal, you could take it not, but, like, what does it mean, the symbolism of Blatilla striata in this episode, do you think?
I
Because
would
it was
if you're asking me that, given that definition, I would say that it's more literal, trying to symbolize Oryu as the flower, who Oryu is this
sure,
young, beautiful, smart, intelligent what a girl that is in this boarding school, very approachable, social butterfly, everything. But once you're actually close, when you're looking from afar, but once you're actually close, it's gonna prick you, and you're not gonna be okay.
for sure, and it also calls to the glue, the substance that they're using
Oh,
with the people
with the
as well,
resin.
with the resin that they have, but, another thing that very much what you said, for sure, but something else that I thought of, since it's like a wild flower in China that grows in some conditions or whatever, I was thinking about that as, um, for sure, Oryu as the flower, but Makishima is the one that lets these little flowers grow, like
Oh,
the killers, like the ones that he's like giving a little bit of, okay, I see some potential here. Let's do that. And then
let it
Blatilla
flourish.
striata, yeah, Blatilla striata flourishes into these pointy flowers. So that's what I thought. I was like, oh, he's like, they're wild. So he's like just finding them out there and then like putting some stuff into it. And then, so
Yes.
very cool. Very cool name and very cool symbolism. Let's go to number 8, episode 8, and
Number
then
8.
silence.
And then silence. So, episode 8, we see again, Kogami Pass. That's what they should have called the show. Kogami is able to deduce that the killers are different because he doesn't sense any crooked humor or message from the two murderers. Their
Ugh,
style, their
so dope.
substance, style and substance, he says. These are the two different things between the murders. The killer of the resin case would have never left two of the same two sculptures in a park, because when during the resin case, like, it was a park, it was a mall, it was a zoo, it was all these different places. But for the right now, two parks. Same killer would have never done that. So this is a different person. Um, they go to a crime coefficient lockup facility for people whose crime coefficients are completely off the charts and cannot be released into public, but remain under lockdown for various reasons. And in this case, we see that Kogami uses their resources to go talk to this crime coefficient riddled artiste of sorts, it seems, and basically shows both of the crime scene sculptures and uh, Oryu's fucking creations. They're wild. We haven't even talked about the sculptures themselves that they're
Mhm.
finding. They're freaking wild. So he shows this guy these two sculptures, and he's like, "Oh, that looks like the work of such and such Oryu." And neither the inspectors Akane or Kogami know who it is, but he explains it to them who this person is and how the reason their art was popular is because there was style and substance and something underneath. And boom, all right, let's run the name. Oh, the same school where all of these girls are going missing, this guy's daughter goes there, the artist of this work. So uh they go to the school, they confront Miss Oryu, but she's able to escape. They
Oh.
go down into this huge facility that's under the school, and they find like the latest piece that she had been working on. Uh and they're all kind of taken aback by it. That's when like the crime scene properly goes up at the school. There's people walking by who know these girls, the victims, and that's when the thing happened that you were talking about. Just let yourself cry so your psychopath doesn't get cloudy, like trying to comfort her.
Mhm.
So crazy. Um, After this, Miss Oryu is still trying to escape, and we see that Makishima is done using her. He got disappointed by her. He states that on a phone call,
Mhm.
and the phone goes dead, and we see this guy that's also been seen with Mr. Makishima before, and he's kind of like on this huntsman thing with this huge old blunderbuss. These hunting dogs track her down in this huge abandoned warehouse. He follows right behind her, and catching up to her, she tells him, "You two will be discarded eventually when he gets bored of you." And he says, "It's not for you to worry about." And he pulls the trigger, and her head is
Her head
flying off.
rolls off, which
Literally
was
rolls
wild.
off. Yeah. Huge
Shouldn't it
old
have
blunderbuss. I
it
think it's
just kinda
I don't even know. The concussive force of that huge gun that close.
he shot her at the neck maybe, and her head literally rolls off into the river or whatever, into all the nonsense. Um,
Heads will
man, I'm
roll.
glad I'm glad all these characters are just having a good old time. These characters are great. I love everybody just
And
having a
then
have fun.
cut to the upbeat outro music. Like,
And then silence. So there's a
and then
lot that happened in
silence.
this episode. Kagami's on it. He is on it. He knows he's doing great. Love Kagami here. Because he's like, we got to go figure it out. We got to go to the holding cells, and apparently people with crime coefficients over 300 are kept in cells. Did you catch if it was with like people with special abilities or like things that they can use, or is it just everybody over 300? Because that sounds like
There were
Arkham
some
Asylum.
it seems
Batman
very mind, what's that show called? Mind uh the one
Mindhunter?
Mindhunter, thank you. where like, they keep these people in lockup so that way they can use their mentality to help with future cases and stuff. Because there's a guy in there where I was like,
Yeah.
you're telling me that guy's crime coefficient is over 300 and he's in there with a bunch of dolls that look like little girls that are ripped to shreds? It's what the show's not saying. It's what the show's
Yes.
not saying.
It's what they're showing for sure, which is very odd. But this guy that likes all this, like all this art and stuff. But like, yeah, if these inspectors are shooting everybody that have a high coefficient, how do they know if they have like a special ability that they can use later on to put in these cells? So I'm like, I mean, I'm sure they'll say it at some point because it's a show that goes on forever. But like, is it everybody that has a over 300 crime coefficient is what I'm thinking. I'm like, I don't know. Or do they have specific people that are like, oh, we might be able to use that later? Like they probably could have used that guy that took over the avatars. Like they
Yeah.
probably could have used him and had him in the cell and just use him for later. But
It's
they just
probably a case by case thing where
sure.
if apprehension is possible, they would, but like the guy with he was like tried to get away, they had to destroy the holograms and everything. They got a shot on him and he was still running. Like
Yeah.
when we catch up to this guy, we're putting him down. And okay, so right here, this is where I thought we were gonna see the first time of the eliminate or the dominator pointed at somebody and it say that like,
It
oh, their
wasn't.
crime coefficient is fine because I thought it was gonna be like her mental state of mind. I'm just making art. Like, she's on this whole trip of, "I'm just making
That
art,"
okay.
and we see her state of mind at the start of this episode where she's talking to Mr. Makishima, and he's like, "Why are you choosing girls at this school for your art projects?" She's like, "Well, think about what this school stands for. We're in a society where all the traditions of a normal school, whatever, a girls' boarding school where only girls are schooled in ways that they can be made to essentially be sold off to become a wife the second they're done with the school, to be a good wife and mother or whatever."
Mhm.
So she's on, and again, that kind of, I think, in my eyes, it plays into those tragedies that she was talking about being fond of from Shakespeare, where she just doesn't like the hierarchy structure of what the school stands for.
For
So she's
sure.
going to just
We live in a
instead
society.
instead of allowing these girls to graduate and go on and become, you know, uh live the horrible life of being a sold off wife or whatever. I'm I'm liberating them of their I'm liberating them of all of that, and they will never
To
have to deal with it.
to be a good bad guy, there has to be something good about it, but them taking it in their own twisted way. Like this is giving like these whole couple episodes have been giving like Saw vibes. Giving Saw with like the whole mystery, like being one step behind everybody. I love the Saw series. It's my favorite horror torture porn, whatever you want to call it. I love the Saw series. I know it's dumb, kind of, but like, boom! This gave me Saw plus Sherlock, and it was like one step ahead, like trying to figure this out, trying to figure out who's connected. And you know, the biggest part that gave me Saw vibes was when the vice principal came into the room, looked at Makishima, and said, "Mr. Shibata, we do you like new? Do you want recommendations for music?" And he's like, "Yeah, I love new artists." As we got the other artist in the room that's gonna die because of him, and he's like, I want my next project. Bro, super Saw Sherlock vibes right there. I was like, oh, he's in the school. I was like, oh my god. 1 second before I get your thoughts on that. CZ, thank you for the other 500 bits. Hello, everybody that's joined. Thank you, Lola, for the drink. We are talking about psychopaths. We talk about anime on Thursdays. We talk about different anime, and you can get a suggestion into the anime chest of despair here. And CZ has suggested for 500 bits. What's all this then? Fancy another one? Can we get Kiss Sniper on the? Is that how you say it? How do you say it? Kiss Sniper on the list. It's been on my watch list. I have not seen it. I have not seen it. I do need to see it, but add that one to the list. Thank you so much, CZ. And that goes to me and Matt for sure.
Um,
What did you
yeah,
think when
we
the vice principal came in, called him Mr. Shibata, and started talking to him? He's in the school.
I threw my hands up and I was like, of course, like, you know, it makes sense. Like, of course, again, it plays right into like he's not doing anything. He's not doing anything. He's literally sitting here, not even watching. He's not even watching the people like play chess. He's the guy telling the guy to send the signals to the guy because he's wearing the plug to get the signals.
So good.
The chess
Oh,
signals.
the
Sorry.
he's not even the guy that's doing the blood plugs though. He's the guy that's telling the guy to do the stimulate
Exactly.
the yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's the guy telling the guy to do the thing for the person to make the moves. Like, that's
He's
how far removed he is from
it's
all of it,
so
where
wild.
all the chaos is happening right in front of him, and he's just a spectator, but nobody knows.
And Kogami doesn't know he's there. Kogami's in the school with him. Kogami's been looking for this guy. Um, man, it's so insane. Again, thank you, CZ, for the 1,000 bits today, and Jelly for the 500 bits. If you have an anime that you want us to watch and discuss, let us know, and we can do it. Just send in 500 bits, and then we get added. We add that to the list. We pull one out next week, and we'll talk about it the following week. So we all watch it together. It's like a anime book club, anime club that we watch together. And it leads off with Makishima finally setting his sights on Kogami. And this is a perfect place to stop where this was like, oh, like he's like, oh, who's this guy? This guy figured out all my stuff.
Mhm.
I thought he knew about him already.
I did
Didn't
too.
he? Didn't he? Didn't we have like right at the beginning of the first episode, or was that like a future thing?
Maybe it's a future thing.
Maybe they meet up in the
Maybe
future and we got
that's
like a
the
glimpse.
psychopaths.
All right, everybody. See you next time. Maybe that was the psychopath. Maybe we're the psychopaths. But Makishima finally sets his sights on Kogami.
At the same time, Kogami, like Makishima, like he's like, oh, and also I'm gonna do this, and he wipes all the video files of the art room of him and Miss Oryu talking. But Kogami is able to like get one file audio log, and it's like really scratchy and stuff. But it's the conversation of Miss Oryu and Makishima where she's explaining why she chose girls at this school.
And the reoccurring thing is that she disappointed him again.
Again, he was
Disappointment.
disappointed, so done. Like, you're done. And
You're done.
she says something because the first two times you disappointed him, you're out. This time he kind of gave her an opportunity to like say something in edgewise. She's like, "Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean?" And he's like, "Oh, you don't even know that you've done something wrong. Then you can't even begin to reflect on why I'm upset. So you're done." Like, he took it an
Yeah.
extra step with her.
He
I
was
love
like,
this show.
oh,
I do really like this show.
he was like, you don't even know. Okay, well, whatever, man. I
Yeah,
guess this is very like Saw for sure. This
yeah.
is next step
It's
guy.
it's Jigsaw, and oh, it wasn't actually Jigsaw. It was this person wearing the Jigsaw like persona, and actually they were behind all the traps.
Who is Moriarty? Moriarty. This Makishima is Moriarty pretty much. So uh I don't know if you're familiar with like Sherlock
No, yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
but anybody that doesn't know, Sherlock has like an arch nemesis, sort of the person that is on his level mentally, and that's Moriarty throughout all of the books. A lot of the time it's a reoccurring, it's kind of like the Batman Joker, Joker to the Batman. And it's just yeah, it's wild. I love that connection. I love that uh I don't know, that like kind of bouncing off of each other. Kogami is the Batman to Makishima's Joker. And it's just all it's all leading to here now that he knows. Does Kogami know Makishima? Does Kogami
He
have
he
he seen him?
he remember he showed the picture of Akane and said, "I found this file on I forgot the enforcer that became a victim, but like his old buddy that like died.
Oh, I have it
Um,
here.
Starts with an O, I think.
Sasayama.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Sasayama.
Sasayama was
He
killed in a
says
cruel way. Yes.
Sasayama was killed in a cruel way. He shows Akane. He's like, "This is the last thing I found on his computer," and it had the file name Makishima, and it's you can see the white hair. It's
Oh yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
blurry. But then at the end, when he salvages that audio file, Miss Oryu says Mr. Makishima,
So
addressing
we,
him.
I
So
figured
yeah,
he was the art teacher. No, like
I think
I
he's
honestly
just a part of this faculty.
okay, they didn't say anything. But then if he is a part of the faculty, he would be seen around on other cameras.
Hmm.
So
He just
him
deleted the
deleting.
ones of him talking to her.
Oh, okay. I thought he deleted all of the art room cameras so that like no art room video is or video or audio is there because he's the art teacher. I thought that was implied. Probably not. I don't know.
If it might have been.
I mean, it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter. I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
just like, it was just so wild to finally see him there.
Hmm.
And for it's kind of like we've seen this before where somebody like it's kind of giving Batman and stuff where somebody knows Bruce Wayne is Batman and they show up and then they're like, "Oh, like, oh, you're here." But no, every he has to keep it calm. That's kind of how I felt. I was like, "Oh, like if Kogami finally ends up seeing him and then it's like, "Oh, you were here?" And it's like, "Oh, I know what you're doing, but I can't
Again,
ah
and then the moment Kogami points the Dominator at him, oh, target's crime coefficient is completely green.
mm, bro, I okay, now starting today is when that's my head canon. That's my head canon that that's gonna happen. I didn't think about it before then. Oh, and
Yeah.
that's the end. That's where we gotta leave off for the Jules and Matt Anime Hour. What
On
an
next week's
insane
episode.
show. We'll find out next time. So next week, if you would like to join the conversation, as many people have, you watch episode 9 through 12. 9 through 13? Do we
9
do 9 through 12 or 9 through 13?
9 through 12.
9 through 12.
9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, but oh, it's remember we discussed is
Oh,
11
was
the
it?
end of the arc? We put it in our chat. I don't know if you can pull
We
that up.
did.
Um every week we watch a little bit of anime and we come back and talk about it and we would love for you to watch along with us. We've been watching Psychopaths, and next week is the last week that we're going to be discussing Psychopaths, and then we'll move on to something else. We have quite a few suggestions from me and Matt, but also from the community. You can give us 500 bits during the live show to get your anime added to the list, and we pull it out randomly, and that's the next anime we all watch together. What's
I couldn't
what
find it.
episodes? You couldn't find it? I thought we
No.
pinned it. No?
I thought we did too.
Okay, 9 through 12. 9 through 12 next week for Psychopaths, and then we'll talk about it. Watch those before next week. Episode 9 through 4, 9 through 12, 4 episodes. Super easy. We watch them together and then we come back and we discuss them. And we would love for you to join the discussion. Matt, during the week, where can they find you?
During the week, am on my socials at it's Matt underscore Galley on most things, on my Twitter, on my Instagram. I am also streaming on Twitch at Matt underscore Galley. No IT at the front of that one, just Matt underscore Galley. And where can the people find you?
And you're going live today, right? You're going to play
I am
some
going
Final
live
Fantasy and do
today.
some dungeons with Jules. Yay. I don't know. Um, you can find me here on Twitch, Jules the Human. Jules the Human on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. If you're watching this later, thank you so much for watching this. This is posted the next day on Fridays on YouTube and on Spotify and Apple. If you're like, I want a podcast to listen to on the road while I drive, we're on Apple Podcast or Spotify. You can watch it on Spotify as well. Just look up the Jules and Matt Anime Hour. It's right there, right here. Just look up the name and you'll find us, and you can listen to all the past episodes. We have a ton of them, and we're going to keep going and doing this because it's so much fun. This is so dope. Jules the Human on everything. Join the Discord if you want to talk about the anime before, and follow us both, Matt Gallio directions, whatever. Jules the Human, Matt Galley. Follow us on everything. And yeah, We'll see you next week.
Bye.